Ever get the feeling that the scent of death, it's something you never forget.
Ooh, yeah, definitely unforgettable.
It's haunting, right? And it's right at the heart of Christie's story.
Yeah.
A listener tale from Morbid, you know that true crime podcast?
Yeah, yeah, I've heard of it.
So her experience, it was shared on episode 88 of their Listener Tales series, and, well, it's just one of the many we'll be unpacking today.
Interesting. So we're diving into the world of listener tales.
Exactly. These aren't your typical true crime cases, you know.
Yeah.
They're personal, intimate glimpses into moments where the line between the living and, well, the departed, it kind of seems to blur.
Yeah, I get you. It's that feeling that there's more to the story, something beyond what we can see or explain.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how these stories, so often rooted in tragedy or loss, they also explore these themes of love, connection, and this possibility that those bonds, they might actually transcend even death.
Ooh, that's powerful, isn't it? The idea that our loved ones might still be with us in some way even after they're gone. I mean, it's something that a lot of people grapple with, right?
Absolutely. So let's jump right into our first story. This one comes from a listener named T. She describes herself as someone who usually plays it safe, not a big risk taker.
Okay.
Sounds familiar.
But then she meets this special someone, and she finds herself stepping outside her comfort zone in a big way.
Stepping out for love, huh?
Yeah.
I like it. So where does the spooky stuff come in?
Well, that's where the story gets really fascinating. T's boyfriend, he's a self-proclaimed skeptic. He has this vivid, recurring dream, and there's this very specific object in it, a Katina doll.
Katina doll. Okay. So for those who might not know, can you tell us a bit more about Katina dolls? I admit I'm not uh, entirely up to speed on those.
Sure. Katina dolls hold deep spiritual significance in Hopi and Zuni cultures. They're often used in ceremonies and are believed to represent different spirits or deities. Okay, I'm with you. So it's not just a random doll, it has this deeper meaning.
Right. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The doll in his dream, it actually belonged to T's deceased grandfather, a man her boyfriend had never met.
Hold on, you're saying he's dreaming about a doll he's never seen before and it turns out to be connected to his girlfriend's grandfather. That's pretty wild.
And get this, the dream occurred before T and her boyfriend even met, close to the anniversary of her grandfather's death.
Oh, hold on. That timing is incredible. It's like almost too perfect to be a coincidence.
I know, right? And here's another layer. T's grandfather, he was a huge figure in her life. You know, the kind of person whose approval she always sought.
So it's like maybe the grandfather, knowing how important his approval was to her, he was reaching out, trying to send a message, like a sign of reassurance or a blessing.
It's definitely a compelling thought. I mean, he had this dream multiple times, and each time it focused on that doll and these specific details of her grandfather's room. He'd never even seen a Kachina doll before in his life.
Wow. The specificity of it all, combined with that timing and the fact that he had no prior knowledge, it really makes you wonder if some events are just coincidences or if there's something more at play, some kind of connection that just defies our understanding of, the physical world.
It's a question that lingers for sure. Was it a message from beyond, or just a, random quirk of the dreaming mind?
Yeah.
It's a question that really stays with you. And speaking of things that stay with you, our next story, well, this one takes us to small town Texas in 1996.
Ah, small town Texas. It's funny, those places always seem so peaceful on the surface.
Right, exactly. But Christie's story, it's a reminder that even in those seemingly idyllic settings, darkness, well, it can be lurking right there beneath the surface.
Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction, as they say. But it's also, I think, about the resilience of the human spirit, especially in the face of tragedy. How we find ways to keep going even when things are tough.
Totally. Christie, she paints such a vivid picture of life in her small town. Sweltering summer days, woods full of imagined terrors, and that comfort of a shared party line with friends.
Oh, the party line. Now that takes me back.
It's a world that might feel familiar to a lot of our listeners, right? Simpler times, maybe. But for Christie, life at home, it wasn't easy. She often felt neglected by her family and found solace, in the company of her elderly neighbor, Miss Ivy.
Miss Ivy. So she becomes this kind of anchor for Christy, a surrogate grandmother figure who offers that love and attention that she's craving. They share a love of reading, stories, even horror movies.
Yeah, an unlikely pair, but it's a heartwarming bond that transcends generations.
It really shows how human connection, can blossom in the most unexpected places, filling those voids and providing a sense of belonging.
But then, on Christie's 8th birthday, the unthinkable happens. Miss Ivy vanishes.
Vanishes, just like that.
Christie, she knows something's terribly wrong. She tries to tell her parents, but they just dismiss her concerns, brushing it off as childish dramatics.
That's heartbreaking, really. It happens so often, though, doesn't it? Children's intuition, their fears, they're overlooked, minimized by adults.
Exactly. And in Christie's case, those fears, they're tragically confirmed.
How so?
A Swan delivery driver, Scott, he arrives and notices the unmistakable scent of death coming from Miss Ivy's house.
Oh, God.
What follows is a truly horrifying discovery. Miss Ivy, she'd been murdered by her own son, manipulated by an abusive ex-husband.
It's a harsh reminder, isn't it, that even in these close-knit communities, terrible things can happen behind closed doors.
For Christie, at just 8 years old, this exposure to such brutality, it's devastating. But amidst all that tragedy, there's a glimmer of hope, a silver lining that speaks volumes about the lasting power of love.
You mean how Christie remembers Miss Ivy?
It's remarkable, right?
Yeah.
How even in the face of such darkness, she finds solace in that love Miss Ivy gave her. It speaks to how profoundly positive relationships impact our lives, shaping who we become and how we navigate the world.
I couldn't agree more. It's about those connections that leave a mark on our souls, even when the people are gone.
Christie even shares how Miss Ivy's love shielded her from, get this, a dreaded clown at her birthday party. Remember, she was terrified of clowns because of the movie Poltergeist.
Oh, I remember that movie. Crept me out as a kid.
It's just a small detail, but it's powerful. It shows how Christie, even as she's grappling with the trauma of Miss Ivy's death, she finds comfort in those memories of her care. And there's more, Miss Ivy. She instilled in Christie a lifelong love of reading and kindness. That, to me, that's the true legacy of their bond, that love that continues to inspire and guide Christie, even in Miss Ivy's absence.
That's a beautiful way to put it, a testament to the enduring power of human connection. And speaking of enduring power, let's shift gears to Nick's story, which delves into this realm of guardian angels and near-death experiences.
Now, Nick's story, it's packed with these moments that make you wonder, was someone or something watching over him? His first close call, it happened when he was just 7 years old. Picture this. A heavy, old-school 90s TV, the kind that weighed a ton.
Oh yeah, those things were practically furniture. You could get hurt by one of those falling on you.
And that's exactly what happened. This TV, it suddenly tips over.
Oh no.
But somehow, little Nick, he catches it before it crushes him. It's a moment that could have ended tragically.
Sounds like he had some help, some unseen force maybe.
It's almost like something intervened, defied the laws of physics, just to protect him from harm. And that's not all. A few years later, when Nick was around 12, he has another strange encounter.
Another one. What happened this time?
He described seeing this comforting but unsettling figure, dressed in a tweed suit.
A tweed suit. Okay, that's a specific detail. Why is that important?
It just adds to the whole uncanny feeling. It's like this figure was from another time, another dimension even. And this figure, it appeared and disappeared in his doorway.
It sounds like something out of a classic ghost story, doesn't it?
It totally does. And Nick's story, well, it doesn't end there. When he was 20, he was feeling ill and decided not to ride in a car with friends. That car later crashed.
Oh, no.
And get this, it landed directly on the spot where he would have been sitting.
That's chilling. It makes you think, what if he hadn't trusted his gut feeling that day?
Right. It's almost like something was guiding him away from danger.
3 brushes with death, each one seemingly averted by something inexplicable. Makes you wonder, was it just luck? Or was it something more, something we can't quite grasp?
It's a question that Nick grapples with, and one that we're left pondering too, right? Do we have these guardian angels watching over us?
Yeah.
Is there a higher power intervening in our lives? Or are these just incredible coincidences?
It's a mystery. And speaking of mysteries, our next story takes us deep into the paranormal. This one comes from Bunny, who shares a truly spine-tingling tale about her mother, Denise. Denise was a true crime enthusiast.
Oh, so she was a fan of the genre, like our listeners.
And she became, well, obsessed with the Morbid podcast, the one we were talking about earlier.
Now, Bunny's story, it's fascinating because it blends the world of true crime with, well, the supernatural.
It's like blurring the lines between, what we think of as entertainment and personal experience. That feeling that maybe, just maybe, it could happen to us.
It all starts with Denise's death, a heartbreaking loss for Bunny. But what happens next? Well, it's a series of uncanny events that defy explanation. Bunny, she hears the Morbid podcast playing.
Wait, playing? But how?
from a disconnected speaker. Then, lights start flashing in her daughter's nursery, and the scent of Denise's perfume, it just fills the air.
Those occurrences, on their own, maybe they wouldn't be so strange, but together, especially after Denise's passing, it definitely suggests something more. A presence, a spirit trying to connect, perhaps.
And to make things even more mysterious, Bunny includes an email that Denise sent to the Morbid podcast before she died.
So Denise, she was already reaching out, sharing her own experiences with the paranormal.
And those experiences, they're chilling. Denise recounted a terrifying visitation from her abusive adoptive father. He died at the exact moment she heard him in her apartment. But it wasn't all scary. She also shared this heartwarming encounter with her deceased mother-in-law, who reassured her about her son's well-being.
These experiences, both frightening and comforting, they suggest this pattern of spiritual encounters in Denise's life, almost like she was sensitive to the unseen world, open to it.
And there's more. Denise mentions a protective spirit named Fredo.
Fredo, like a spirit guide.
It seems that way, a presence later confirmed by a spiritualist. And finally, Denise, she received a message from her boyfriend, Ernie. But Ernie, he was already dead.
Oh, wow. A message from beyond the grave.
And it was sent through his unique text tone.
That's a powerful detail. It speaks to the depth of their connection, the belief that even death couldn't sever that bond. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What happens to us after we die? Can we still connect with the ones we leave behind?
It's a big question. So is Denise continuing her love of the paranormal, reaching out to Bunny from beyond the grave? Are these random events, or is there a pattern, a message in these, well, seemingly supernatural occurrences?
It's enough to make anyone a believer, and what's even wilder?
What's that?
The medium. They share a final message from Grandma Josephine. Mayan should stop smoking weed.
Oh, wow. Even in the afterlife, Grandma's still looking out for us. Gotta love them.
Right. Even after they're gone, they still worry. Adds a little humor to the story, don't you think?
Absolutely. It makes Josephine seem so real, so human. It's a good reminder that those bonds, that love, they really do extend beyond the physical realm.
For sure. All these stories, they might be different in the details, but they all point to this shared human desire, this longing for connection, for meaning, for reassurance that our loved ones, well, they're not really gone.
Yeah, it's that hope, isn't it? That maybe there's something more.
Exactly. And what I find so fascinating is how these stories challenge what we think we know about reality. They encourage us to, be open to different perspectives, to question, to embrace the mystery, the wonder of life, and maybe even death.
To realize that we don't have all the answers.
Exactly. And that's okay. Sometimes the most powerful experiences are the ones that we just can't explain. So I gotta ask you, dear listener, do you have any experiences that defy explanation? Have you ever felt a presence, maybe a whisper of something just beyond your understanding? A feeling, a scent, a song at just the right moment?
It's like those little signs, those nudges from the universe.
It might be time to pay attention to them. You never know what you might discover.
And if you have a story to share, we'd love to hear it. Maybe your story will be in our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the extraordinary, the unexplained, and the enduring power of love and connection.